one of the things that we find with property owners is they've got a lot of questions about when's the right time to sell, the condition of their property, what the market conditions are going to look like. And, it's a great opportunity for us to explore with them, answer their questions way ahead of them really wanting to be on the market. So today we're going to talk about the on-site consultation process. I'm Chip Collins with Collins Group Realty. I'm joined with Chris Sanders, and we're going to get at it. Okay, I'm joined with Chris Sanders, who is our strategic advisor here at Collins Group Realty. Chris, and we're going to talk about, without disclosing name and location, okay, but this is a recent situation, kind of peel the curtain back on our process for property owners, would-be sellers. We had a gentleman that came to our downsizing workshop just last week, and then he called us for an on-site consultation, which we promote because we say, you know what, hey, his question was, is it ever too soon to have you come over and tell me what I need to know? And I said, oh my gosh, it's never too soon at all. So we never know what we're going to get because each real estate deal and client property is like kind of like a snowflake. They all kind of look alike from the outside, but when you start looking more closely at it, and this was really fun for us. We love doing this, right, Chris?
Yes, this is all the time.
We add value without the pressure of all of a sudden like, okay, it's go time. We got to go to market. So we sit down and we don't always know what to expect. We don't know what the questions are going to be. We haven't seen the property yet. In this case, we had the opportunity to meet the client. And so we just thought, be a fly on the wall with us a little bit about what that meeting looked like. And we thought we'll just kind of give you some insights so that you can understand what we're up against every time that we have these kinds of meetings. And I'm going to start with the first one. There's the condition issue. Like, is the condition of my property ready to go on market? And one of the topics that he specifically had was he's got a roof that was over 20 years old. It had been patched several times, doesn't leak, so it might fit the parameters and the obligations of a typical contractor sale. But he knows in the back of his mind, is that going to be a problem? And so when we looked at that, we peeled back and basically said, you probably satisfy the contract, but you have a buyer who's immediately thinking, I got to spend $12,000, $15,000, right? Mm-hmm. There's the concern that if it's been patched, maybe it's going to need additional repair work. And then the other thing that we kind of brought in was a third party to the transaction, if you will, are insurance companies. And we're talking about how insurance companies, about 20 years ends up being the tipping point. If you got a roof that's over 20 years old, it starts to hit their, let's call it area of concern.
That's right.
There may be some who won't write a policy, maybe others that will ask you to get it replaced within a certain period of time, etc. But all of a sudden you got a third party player coming in on the roof issue. He was super glad to hear about that because it started weaving in like, okay, is that $12,000 or $15,000 worth spending? Am I going to get my money back out of it, etc.? The other issue he had just related to that, because there's some other things that the house needed, needed some updates, okay? The kitchen was dated and a little bit obsolete in its plan. It didn't look like an HGTV model house anymore. He was asking about as is, and he wanted to know, will you list a house as is? Let's just go run through really quickly. Like what were his main concerns there, and how did we settle that in terms of his being more comfortable?
Yeah, he was really concerned about it because he had projects. He had some things going on in his life where he couldn't get to fixing a few things,
yeah.
And that's really important to know. So it was going to be a big inconvenience for him to try and get in there and get some repair work done. And he was worried that, was the market going to even look at his house if he tried to sell it as is, or was that like a four-letter word? I mean, right. what was going to happen there? And so I think that we were able to kind of look at it and process and look at each little item and say, that is important or that is not important. This is something you could spend your time and effort on, and this is something you probably don't need to worry about right now.
And it comes and goes with the other topics. Like, so basically, you're like, well, listen, if you want to blow it out, you don't want to sell it as is, you want to spend $50,000 or $75,000 and blow out the kitchen and do this, that, and the other, then okay, that's going to lead to one pricing strategy. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have time, energy, etc., then maybe it's a different pricing strategy. But his concern was, is anybody going to buy it? And the answer was
yes.
Yeah, right? Yes. As a function of making sure the pricing is right and also understanding the window of opportunity in the market against other inventory and that sort of thing.
Right. Another thing that he was a little concerned about, he had an appraisal from several years ago, and the square footage of the house didn't really line up with the tax assessor. And so we were able to pull up the actual sketch that the assessor has in their files and compare it with the appraisal, and we found a big difference. And that's really important. A lot of people don't know that the assessor has a sketch of your house in their file. And so it's interesting to be able to, or helpful to be able to pull that up and take a look at that. Is it accurate? Is it right? Is it not right? I mean, that doing things like this well in advance of when you're ready to go on the market, so you're not scrambling at the end. I mean, some people are doing this stuff with us, Chip, a year in advance. I mean, we've worked with, and it's so great because we can engage with them and look at all the important things and take our time getting the property ready so that when they're ready to hit the market, it's not a scramble anymore.
Cool thing about a meeting like that, and oftentimes like these on-site consultations, is we open up our toolbox. He was asking about pre-sale home inspection. Is that important? Who should I use, etc.? We opened up the toolbox and said, hey, here's the inspectors we do a lot of work with. And then he's got concerns about wood rot and should he have items addressed. We've got all those players, etc. So to your point, it's just really fun. Like that's great, meaty, no pressure for them, no pressure for us conversation that starts a strategy that honestly, now the timeline, we've all tried to call recently a contractor. Right. Everybody's super busy. So having time in advance to get that squared away has been really powerful.
Yeah, it was great to see when we got there. You could just tell the stress. You could tell that there was stress there. There were unanswered questions there. He was not ready to sell right now, but he had things that were just keeping him up.
Yeah.
And we were able to tackle those one by one. And by the time we left the meeting, it was a smile.
Hour of power. It was an hour of power. So anyway, so we just wanted to kind of peel the curtain back, let you know, fly on the wall kind of thing. That's how that conversation went. He's got an action plan. He's feeling less stressed. We're super excited because we love adding value that way. So if an on-site consultation could be meaningful to you or someone you know, give us a shout. We love doing it.